So it turns out research shows that gender reassignment treatments have no mental health benefits. That's from a national pediatrician group. The American College of Pediatricians issues a petition after reviewing more than 60 studies on mental health in adolescents with gender dysphoria. A review of more than 60 studies has concluded that there is no long-term evidence that mental health concerns are decreased or alleviated after gender-affirming therapy, according to a national group of physicians. The American College of Pediatricians on Wednesday issued its position statement opposing the use of so-called gender-affirming medications such as puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, social transition, and surgery for youth who have a gender identity not congruent with their sex. We urge medical professionals and parents to affirm the truth about childhood gender dysphoria in the presence of harmful thoughts and address the underlying mental illness, adverse events, and family dysfunction, said the lead author and vice president of this group. The group found that there is substantial evidence that transgender youth suffer from high rates of mental health problems. From this review of the literature, there is strong evidence that children and adolescents who identify as transgender have experienced significant psychological trauma leading to their gender dysphoria.
What? Dylan Mulvaney isn't having a great girlhood?
Their position outlines the studies that have led a number of European countries, including Finland, Norway, and Sweden, to reverse their positions and reject gender reassignment treatments in young people.
Yeah, we can't reverse the surgery, can you?
The group, which has long opposed gender reassignment treatments, said it is very concerned that parents, along with healthcare and educational professionals who support the transgender transition of children and adolescents, are, in fact, contributing to the increased depression by appearing to validate the children that something is wrong with their body and biological sex.
I didn't need a study to tell me this, for the record. We all knew this going in, and a bunch of people like, me, Jon Stewart, fucking pussy brain, well, maybe I should just accept it because experts, even though it's insane, I respect experts, and Adam Ruins Everything's a smart guy. Is everybody? I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
The mental wealth.
We're creating a generation. Two generations. These kids, like we grew up. All of us are around the same age. We grew up. It was like about being great at something, self-esteem, self-worth. Now it's got nothing to do with that. And these kids are going to grow up to basically either hate themselves, or I talk about recovery a lot. I'm writing a recovery book for American citizens. So I always say that we're as sick as our secrets. So all these kids that they're transitioning are going to live their whole lives inside, either hating themselves, feeling like they made a mistake, or feel like they have to keep a secret. I mean, they're creating literal mental patients that will. I really think a lot of this has to do with pharma and lifelong patients and eugenics. I mean, it's really sick, but like you said, I think it's the Fourth Reich that's running the world right now. So it's not surprising. A lot of this stuff happened in Nazi Germany and in Mao's China. I mean, this is not new. It's all part of this sick perversion.
Yeah, those are just franchises of the big group. Those are just their franchises.
So this group also affirmed the medical fact that the sex of an individual is based upon biology and not upon thoughts and feelings.
Oh, that's why you need so much surgery.
So I saw Joe Rogan make a great point when he was that he had that guy Adam from whatever
Adam Ruins Everything
on, and Adam said that he knows these little kids that have thought that they were the other sex.
No, he does not.
Wait, let me finish.
Yeah, that's not what he said.
And what did he say?
He said he talks to trans adults that say, I was that kid. And Joe said, no, they're not that kid. That's a separate kid.
Yeah.
Okay?
But he also said that he knows kids that they've known since they were little that they were in the wrong body and they were the other sex and they've lived that way. And Joe said, well, then why do you have to add hormones to it? Why do you, that doesn't make sense.
To be pretty.
It's so
the most important thing, being pretty.
The so-called
lifelong patience. Patience.
Hey, why does a teen need a nose job? Because being pretty is the most important thing. This is America.
Well, I'm not
some loser ugly country.
I'm not against that. But anyway, the so-called transition is not a change of sex or even a change of sexual gender identity, but rather only a change in sexual appearance or presentation. Thus, transgender and transition are misleading inaccurate terms, but are used in this document because of their unfortunate standard of use in the medical literature.
Like how we use democracy.
Supporters of gender reassignment treatments have argued that it saves lives by reducing suicide in youth suffering from gender dysphoria. The physician's report found the rate of suicide attempts or completions was high among those who have received gender reassignment interventions. A study which purported to show a lifetime suicidal ideation reduction in those who received puberty blockers actually found twice as many serious suicidal attempts in participants who received the blockers than those who just wished they had received them. That's according to this group. Position summary fact sheet, mental health of gender incongruent youth. The decision to transition during adolescence comes with lifelong consequences, including possible sterility and loss of sexual function, and there should be more support for those seeking to detransition, the report said, reassuring gender dysphoric children to embrace their biological sex, as well as addressing mental illness and other adverse childhood events, is recommended to avoid harmful long-term consequences of gender-affirming treatments. One more.
Yeah.
Therefore, this group cannot condone the social affirmation, medical intervention, or surgical mutilation of children and adolescents identifying as transgender or gender nonconforming. Rather, intensive psychotherapy for the individual and family to determine and hopefully treat the underlying etiology of their gender incongruence should be pursued.
Hey, you know, in Iran, you're not allowed to be gay. You have to transition.
Oh, really?
HBO had a whole documentary about it years ago before you had to pretend that gender affirming care was not insane. They had a whole documentary because, much like us now, the new Iran, they felt so bad about being gay. Plus, it's illegal.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, now you're a woman. Legally, you're a woman. In fact, Iran probably had a more coherent policy about it because it wasn't private industry just making it up as they make money at it.
So I have a...
Yeah, well, one of the things about this, too, is nobody's saying the other part of this story, which is that the biggest distributor of these drugs to children is Planned Parenthood. So if you look at the origins of Planned Parenthood and you realize that they're putting Planned Parenthood are sponsoring a lot of these counselors that are going into school and running these programs that are recruiting these kids to think that they are a different gender and getting them on that track. They're not telling you the other side, that these counselors that, Basara and Cordoza and all these Biden Department of Education people, these counselors they put in, the 60,000 counselors that they brought in 2021, they are a partnership with Planned Parenthood. And so if you look back and you really want to be honest about Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and eugenics, then you start to think, wait a minute, what's going on there? And if you know that Planned Parenthood doesn't give free abortions, that's not true. It's actually a huge business. And then you put this element in it. It's hard to deny that something is going on here that is not what it seems.
And I just want to weigh in really quickly by saying that, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I don't understand why the definition of male and female hasn't expanded. Like, I thought that was the whole thing that we were progressing towards, that
you want no definition.
Why can't a man wear a dress and skirts and nails and whatever
and still be a man?
And still be a man. Why does it have to be defined by that you have to construct your body a certain way? I don't understand that.
To destroy all definitions so that we can sell you the new definition,
which is transhumanism.
And you can be a slave to it. Eugenics, by the way, it's now called transgenics. There's not an expose word. It's what they call it. Martine Rothblatt, the highest paid woman CEO in America, wrote a book called Transgenics. She does have a dick and balls, so that makes sense. And it's all about transhumanism. We're going to live Black Mirror shit that maybe you thought was like a scary Twilight Zone is their optimistic Star Trek future.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say before. I have one of my gay friends told me, he said, I'm glad I grew up 30 years ago instead of now, because when I was a kid, I got caught my mother caught me wearing my sister's clothes. I like to dress up and wear her clothes. And she then sent me to therapy, where we just discovered I was gay. And now they would send me to gender reassignment therapy.
Yeah.
And immediately.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm just a gay male. And that's what I always was. But if I was that today, they'd tell me I was the other sex. And he was the one who made that point to me that Steph just made. It's like, I remember I went to see Greg Barrett's show.
Yes.
And his whole show was about how he's a macho male guy who likes to have sex with women, but he also likes to paint his fingernail and wear earrings and put on eyeliner. But he's still a man. That doesn't
A Turkish nephew, you call it.
Yeah, exactly.
You mean a Turkish nephew? It's yeah.
So we went from expanding what it meant to be a man or expanding what it meant to be a woman. Now it's no. You're not that. You're the other thing, and you have to get your balls chopped off or your breasts chopped off to conform physically to this idea of it's narrowing of the definition instead of the expansion, and that's what I always thought we were supposed to do. And that is what we're supposed to do, and what they're doing is actually perversion.
Well, how about the genders of male and female? They really don't have anything to do with your clothes. They're biological.
They don't have anything to do with your clothes.
When that stupid shit started coming, that I used to say, because I assumed someone that knows what they're talking about made it up. No, gender and sex are two different things. I've heard this for years. I thought I was just dumb and didn't go to the right school to learn that.
Right.
And I repeated that drivel. No, they're not. No, they're not. Different fucking things. A psychopath doctor who mutilated a kid. I was 12 years old in 60 Minutes. Botched circumcision, twin brothers. Some crazy doctor, John Money, had a theory you could make someone into another sex by programming them.
That guy. What an
okay,
evil
now
person.
this I didn't know this connected to this at the time, but I was 12 watching this, and the guy was castrated, forced all. It turned out the doctor molested both the brothers repeatedly.
Right.
He's the guy with the innovation to say, no, gender's not biological. That's who came up with that. So fuck that idea forever. People are repeating that stupid shit because it came out of a goddamn college. And the reason the colleges suck ain't the commies, it's money. Your whole goddamn system, if you wonder where Satan's coming from, it's money. whoever pays owns the science. That's the rule. That's where you live.
Okay, over to Steph.
Also,
Oh.
self-esteem and self-worth. We're supposed to tell our children that you're just right the way you are. The way you were born is perfect. You're supposed to get them
Right.
to accept themselves and love themselves. That's how you create healthy human beings. And they're doing the exact opposite. And it seems very purposeful. I just try to look at what could the end game be, because it's not what it seems like. And you brought up Rothblatt, but don't forget the Pritzker family are big funders of this as well.
Yeah.
Like there are people funding this that are billionaire transgender people.
Every
Also, you really have
atheist-
to follow
yes.
the money in this situation.
Every rich atheist who wants to live forever in a computer,
Okay.
they all are dreaming of that. Ray Kurzweil, all those creeps from the tech sector that all hung out with Epstein, by the way.
So Trump said he wants to take the Venezuelan. Well, listen to what he says.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
Jesus Christ.
So this is the crimes that they should be prosecuting him for. Doesn't even come up.
We're going to take it over.
We're going to take over another country and steal the oil. We're going to take the country's ready to collapse. We're going to take the oil.
That really is the ultimate crime, is saying the thing that we're doing.
Just in case you need a reminder that we don't have any good guys in the game.
Yeah, we just have one funny guy.
Right. So he wants Venezuela to collapse, which is why they're sanctioning Venezuela and why they tried to overthrow it with Juan Guaido.
And why they're busing them into your cities and they're staying in your
That's right.
schools that your kids go to.
This is what's literally forcing immigration from Venezuela to the United
You
States.
think about that. Like, Trump's the guy who's going to do
So we
something
can
at the
take their
border.
oil.
He was trying to help collapse Venezuela. We have a flood of Venezuelans now.
That's right. Millions.
Nobody's going to connect those things. They're going to go, well,
So once again, we have the choice of the guy who says, yes, I'm evil, and the other guy who says, what
Gibberish.
are we talking about? I'm good.
Senile gibberish.
Yeah.
And maybe Gavin Newsom at some point.
7.3 million Venezuelans left their country since 2014. This is the largest exodus in Latin America's recent history and one of the largest displacement crises in the world. That's as of February of last year.
Well, you know the best place to get sudden immigration, mass immigration from? A country that you just fucked up, filled with people that might have a bit of a grudge. I mean, could you blame them? You fuck their country up and then they bust them in. You think they're going to respect the police and such?
Trump should make hats, make Satan great again. There's so many reasons not to like Trump,
Yeah.
and the Democrats don't bring up any of them.
No, well, they have the same views. They just want him to say
That's right. They bring up the stuff you're supposed to like him for. Like he didn't want to fund the Ukraine war.
Right.
He doesn't want to have World War III with Russia or maybe China. Maybe he does. I don't know about how.
He didn't want to lock down hard enough.
Venezuela crisis. Maduro claims victory over deranged coup attempt. The president blames Trump's imperialists and coup-mongering far right as rival Juan Guaido calls for more protests. That's from 2019.
Juan Guaido, who now lives there in Venezuela and gets his ass kicked by the public on a
That's
regular
right.
basis. Not in prison. They let him just move back there. I couldn't believe it when I saw it because he's the rightful ruler of Venezuela, according to Trump. And Nancy Pelosi didn't tear nothing up for that. She applauded. with
She
everyone
applauded
else.
that.
Yeah.
I like how they put deranged in quotes.
Yeah.
As if the coup makes sense.
Were they implying it was a ranged coup?
Yeah, it was ranged. So it's weird also that Trump would fund a coup in Venezuela during the latter part of his presidency when the country was on the brink of collapse anyway.
Yeah.
And that the coup that he funded failed so miserably.
I mean, the Bay of Pigs was an embarrassment, but when they're called the Bay of Piglets, that's not as good.
He really said that the USA's quiet, decade-old MO out loud.
Yeah.
That's right. He said that's another reason why they don't want Trump, because he tells you the truth about our foreign
He
policy.
blurts it right out.
You want to hear here it is.
We're keeping the oil. We have the oil. The oil is secure. We left troops behind only for the oil.
That, that's why they can't have him, because he tells you the truth about our foreign policy. He thinks he's just talking to his base and his voters and the
Yeah.
donor. He's actually talking to the entire world, and the entire world hears the president of the United States give away the reason for our foreign policy for the last 75 years. What is it?
We're keeping the oil. We have the oil. The oil is secure. We left troops behind only for the oil.
So that's why the Democrats could talk about hating him, but the Democrats are on board with that. They love that Trump kept troops in Syria to take the oil. They love that Trump tried to do a coup in Venezuela so we could steal their oil. This is all about oil, again. And the things you're supposed to hate Trump for, they don't.
I wonder if Trump realizes that he answered his own question about why do we keep having immigrants from shithole countries? Because we take their oil, we got their oil, we're keeping their oil. It shouldn't be a mystery to you how this keeps happening.
His real crime is acknowledging America's crimes.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to say we're leaving troops in Syria for liberty and freedom and to
Yeah.
fight back against the authoritarian dictators. That's what you're supposed to say.
See, because you're supposed to do it the way that's disrespectful to you, the Trumpet Holmes intelligence, not the way that's disrespectful to the bullshit the Freedom Coalition Caucus, and all these like names that have like freedom in the title, and they're all just stealing oil.
So if you want to know why there's all these immigrants here, it's because Trump is agreeing with the policy of destabilizing Central South American countries, creating refugees, and then they come here. That's why they're sanctioning the shit out of Venezuela. That's why they sanction Cuba. That's why they're everywhere they put sanctions, it turns people into migrants and refugees, and then they come here.
And then they lower your wages.
And they lower your. It's right.
Yeah.
So it's not their fault. It's again the United States' fault. Look at all the goddamn 7.3 billion Venezuelans
patriotic watching this.
That's right. This is why the Democrats should hate him, but the Democrats don't hate him because of this. The media doesn't hate him because of this, because they all agree with this.
By unanimous decision.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela?
Your winner is the
When I
red
left,
corner.
Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
He just says it. He says the quiet part out loud.
Make America great.
We're imperialists. We come, we invade smaller, weaker countries, and we take their natural resources and we give it to Western companies. By the way, the oil wouldn't go to American citizens. The oil would go to Western corporations that would then charge you for it.
Who would then work to coup Trump out of office?
That's
by the
right.
way.
That's
like,
right.
Like it actually is hilarious. It really is a funny ass country.
Here's why here's why the Democrats should hate Trump. Here's why they should criticize him. And of course they don't, because they agree with it.